his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar. Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Hello to all of my amazing friends. Happy Friday. I hope yours is going as well as mine. Yeah, happy Friday. The day is done into weekend mode. Having a celebratory Guinness Stout. Celebrate the occasion. So, an Irishman, an Italian, and an Alabaman, man from Alabama, all on holiday, all on vacation in London, walk into a pub, a tourist trap pub, and they're sitting at the bar, relaxing, getting away from the family for a day, just to grab a pint, getting away from the family, enjoying an overpriced pint. They're sitting at the bar and they get to talking to each other. The Italian says something like, "Hey, I would totally do an Italian accent. Hey, this beer is way too expensive, huh?" Is that Italian? The Irishman, yeah, it's too damned expensive. That sounded more Alabama, didn't it? An Alabama jumps in and says, "Yeah, man, expensive beer. This pub sucks." And they all agree the pub that they're in sucks. So the Italian says, back home, my neighborhood bar, best bar in the universe. Best bar in the universe. You buy one drink and you get the other one for free. So this is a 2-for-1 bar. Everybody thinks that's pretty cool. The Italian says, the Irishman says, that sounds pretty good, but it's not as good as my hometown bar. In my bar, you buy one drink, you get 2 for free. Buy one drink, get 2 for free. Everybody's marveling at this. The Alabaman says, "Hell, those sound good, but nothing on my hometown bar back in Alabama. Back in my hometown bar in Alabama, you can drink for free all night. And if you want to, you can also get laid for free." The Irishman and the Italian marvel at this. What? They say, "How can that be?" The Italian says, "You mean you've experienced this at this bar?" And the Alabama says, "No, but my sister told me about it." First time I told that joke, could probably do it a lot better. You know how it is when you tell a joke. But I was thinking, 2018, the year that it's bad to tell jokes. And here I am being an outright misogynist. We can't tell jokes. Jokes are bad. The thing is, we can. And we need to start reclaiming that territory. Absolutely need to start reclaiming that territory. So what's been on my mind quite a bit lately is the SJWs, man. The SJWs. Out of control. I've been studying this stuff. For at least 2 years. At least 2 years I've been studying the SJWs. Because they're fucking freaks, and I think for a normal person, you look at how these people behave, and it's just absolutely like you would have a difficult time explaining the behavior of SJWs to just regular people who go to work, do their jobs, pay taxes, regular old Americans, just quite, normies, I guess you'd say. Don't quite have any kind of frame of reference to understand how retarded these people actually are. SJWs, social justice warriors. So as I said in a previous video, I've followed your boy Zack since the very beginning. He's really kind of the guy who, I actually view the guy as sort of a heroic figure. This is a guy who decided to absolutely take on the SJWs and give them hell. Yeah, and they don't like it, do they? They don't like it when you give them hell. I really see him as, like I said, sort of this heroic figure. And like me, I've always enjoyed comic books and generally think that the ones that are out nowadays are pure crap. And I think objectively are. Even if you don't care about the SJW stuff, the quality of the product is way down. They're not worth reading for the most part. You can look at Zack. I mean, that's the essence of the complaint. That a whole lot of comic books are just not worth reading and pale in comparison, or ghosts or shells of what they can be, of what they used to be. That's the tragedy. And you've got all of these people, all these professionals, quote unquote professionals in the comic book industry, who can't write their way out of a paper bag. Sometimes the art's good, but sometimes it's terrible. But the stories themselves are horrendous. The quality of the product is way down. And you've got a guy like Mark Waid. Pardon me for 2 seconds while I take care of a dog. Sorry about that. The damn dog. The damn dog won't be still, disturbing my broadcast here. Oh, where was I? The quality of the product, way down. Zack's a heroic figure, bringing attention to how awful it's become. They don't like it, do they? They don't like it at all. If you want to understand why the mainstream comic book industry basically has come out en masse as this one giant block, a David versus Goliath type situation, to come out and crush this guy. Because he's pointing out the emperor wears no clothes. That's all he's done, is point out the emperor wears no clothes. The emperor doesn't like it when you point out he's strutting around naked, you see. Enter Mark Waid. You're talking about a guy who's made a comfortable living writing comic books. Man, how cool was that, right? Part of the establishment. And thorough, through and through, in SJW. The guy actually calls up, you know the story, calls up Antarctic Press, offers to do an interview, puts pressure on them to drop Zack's book. They do. Then we got Zack in what is truly a momentous occasion, a huge turning point. No one really thought it was going to happen, I don't think. Suing Mark Waid for tortious interference. Don't know how it's going to play out, but it looks to me like this is, it looks to me like Zack's got a clear win here. It may not work out that way, but it looks to me like Zack's going to win this case. I can say that if there's, I won't say. I think there's one chink in the armor. I'm not even going to point out publicly what I think the chink is, but I think for the most part, Zack's got to win. And for Zack, I want him to win because these awful, awful people need to be put down. They need to be dealt with in the sense, I'm not talking about violence, talking about they need to be put in their place, knocked off their pedestal. The comic book industry is not going to survive this unless people start waking up to the fact that a bunch of unprofessional people who can't write are producing politically laden comics no one wants to read. Who are these people? Who are these people? SJWs. I wanted to talk a little bit about SJWs. What are they? I know it's been taught to death. One of the things that drives me crazy, though, one of the things is the SJW moniker seems to have stuck. It is what it is, I guess. To me, it's not the best choice. We haven't done a great job of rhetorically naming our opponents. Then again, we're normal people, right? We don't go around calling everybody we disagree with a Nazi or a racist or a homophobe. We don't do that, because we're normal people and we'd rather disagree on merit and have debates on reason and stuff like that. The number one thing I think that you ought to know about SJWs before I say anything else at all, remember this phrase: the ends always justify the means. With these people, the ends always justify the means. And by that, I mean they are unconcerned, utterly unconcerned with ethics. Right, wrong, what's the right thing to do? Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Scruples, etc. Unconcerned. They don't care about that. That means anything to achieve their goal is fair play in their minds. Lie, cheat, steal, call someone's employer, get them fired on bogus reasons, get them deplatformed, call news stations, call them Nazis if they're going to conferences. Anything and everything is on the table for these people. This is what is scary about SJWs. The ends always justify the means. So if you're a person who has scruples, who has a sense of the ethical, the golden rule that you feel like you should treat other people the way you want to be treated, and you go up against someone who literally doesn't give a shit about that, you're automatically at a disadvantage. Automatically at a disadvantage. And you have to rely on a system or a society to back you up here, which that's what we're seeing with the Mark Waid situation. You see, in a Mark Waid situation, the ends always justify the means. He knows, if he's not a psychopath or a sociopath, he knows what he's doing is wrong. In some sense, he knows that leaning on a publisher, being a bully to a publisher, preventing another person from succeeding for no damn good reason is wrong. It's unethical. In some sense, he must know he was behaving in an unethical manner. That doesn't matter in the SJW mindset. Irrelevant. Add to that, you're talking about Zack, who, as far as I know at the time, was working a job, paying child support, all the stuff that we know from watching his videos, didn't have the money to sue until the success of Jawbreaker's crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, and also to the Iron Sight's Indiegogo campaign. Then he's making six figures from those campaigns. He's got a little cash to spare to initiate the lawsuit. You see, if you're Mark Waid and you see that, but you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions. The ends always justify the means. They don't think about the ramifications of what they do. They're only thinking about, I've got to take this motherfucker down. Got to take him down no matter what. That's your Mark Waid mindset. And he's successful. He successfully gets Zack's publisher to drop him. Imagine the shit-eating grin he must have had on his face, being able to wield his power against these to be the Goliath squashing the David in this instance. Imagine how happy he was that day. In fact, he broadcast it for everyone to see, posted about it on all his social media accounts, like, yes, I did it. Look how big of a man I am. I'm the king of the social justice warriors. You can imagine he must have felt pretty damn good about himself. Meanwhile, the rest of us are going, man, normies, in other words, are looking at things going, who in the fuck? Like, what is wrong with you? Who gives a shit? Who gives this much of a shit about what another person does? It's not normal. It's not normal. Who cares this much about what other people do? It's bizarre. For normies, you can't explain it. And normies, of course, if you noticed in Zack's lawsuit, he specified a jury trial, a jury verdict. Seems to me to be a pretty brilliant maneuver there, because you're going to have a jury stocked with normies. The odds say there's not a lot of social justice warriors. That's the thing. There's not a lot of these people. There are not many of them, man. They're few and far between. They're just loud and they're obnoxious and they're ruthless. You see, you're going to have a jury stocked if it goes to trial, and I don't think it will. But you're going to have a jury if it does. You're going to have a jury of non-social justice warriors, and they're going to be sitting there going, "Who the fuck cares about what other people do to the degree that this insane son of a bitch does?" Plus, add to the fact that you've got your boy Zack, who is a legitimate hero in the sense that he served his country in both the Marines and the Army. He's a veteran. Put him up, let it go to jury, see who wins. I will say this. If it goes before a jury, I don't see how Zack can't win. Mark Waid's going to look like a California liberal hippie freak in Texas. Zack's going to look like an Army veteran who's been shit on. Brilliant. It's brilliant. Who are these people, these social justice warriors? Who do they think they are? Let me tell you something. First and foremost, I'm trying to disseminate this idea. SJWs are collectivists and they're authoritarians. Now, for people like me, who I know a little bit about history, I'm a college-educated person, and we always learned about this in history from the Salem witch trials, at least for me, the Salem witch trials and the McCarthyism of the 50s, the communist scare. And from those two lessons, we learned that this is not a new human behavior. This witch hunt mentality is not a new human behavior, but it was always, in my mind, a right-wing behavior. A right-wing behavior. Right-wingers did this stuff. It's right-wingers who go on witch hunts. So it's bizarre to me, all of my adult life to this point, to see the witch hunt mentality rise up in the left wing. I had nothing in my adulthood and my experience and my knowledge of history to prepare me for a left-wing McCarthyism, which is exactly what we're seeing, a left-wing McCarthyism. Well, I don't know what to make of that, but I know it's the same thing. It doesn't matter now. Now I know it doesn't matter if it's right-wing or left-wing. It's McCarthyism. It is a collectivist authoritarianism. What do I mean by collectivist? Well, for these people, the sanctity of the individual means nothing. They do not judge individuals. They judge people based on their membership in groups, their collective identity. So all black folks are judged, all trans folks are judged, all white men are judged. Everybody has a identity, a collectivist identity, and that's what you are. If you're a white male, fuck all, typical character, all of your individual characteristics and all the things that you've accomplished. It doesn't matter. You're a white male. You're you're a horrible human being unless you get on your knees and virtue signal away all day long to a leftist, radical leftist identity politics. Unless you do that, if you're not a radical leftist and you're white and you're male, you're alt-right. As clear as that. So everyone has to, everyone is responsible for the sins of everyone else. It's a collectivist identity. It's a collectivist identity. The next thing is authoritarianism. And it's this idea that authoritarianism is they're right 100% of the time, no matter what. And if you're wrong, you're non-person. You're nothing. You're anathema. You're pariah. Stemming from that authoritarian impulse, you'll notice SJWs adore censorship. This hangs me up quite a bit. This is the reason why I have abandoned the left as it stands now. Censorship. My God, what happened to the idea, I might not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it? That was a liberal idea, you see. 2018, we find ourselves in this bizarre context in which censorship, deplatforming people, taking away their platforms, burning books, telling people they cannot say this or that or the other, that they do not have free speech. You cannot speak freely. That's the leftist platform, 2018. Fuck that. If that's the leftist platform in 2018, I want nothing to do with the left. And it's counterintuitive, and I don't understand why people don't put this together. That if the speech is so damned hateful, if someone is saying something so awful, you want them to say it. You want them to expose themselves for the morons, the hateful fucking moron that they are. When you tell people to shut up and you don't allow them to share their stupid ideas out loud, there's no way for people to judge. And these people go underground. You don't kill anything. You just make it grow stronger and more bitter. I don't understand people who are against free speech. And that's what the left and the social justice left has become. They're censors. They are pro-censorship. They're authoritarians. It's absurd. And I want nothing to do with that. The next thing, SJWs are puritanical. They're Puritans. Have you ever noticed this about them in the comics and whatnot? They're Puritans. Their view of sex is like right at home with the Puritans, man. Cover up. Women can't be sexy anymore. Women can't be sexy. They're always telling you what you can and can't do in the background. Lastly, on this particular front, SJWs have a higher rate of mental illness than the general population. I don't have any studies to back me up on this. It is from a purely observational stance. I will click on an SJW profile more often than not. I'm going to say 50-50. They, in their thread, in their bio, will list some kind of mental deficiency, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. This comes up more often than you would expect sampling a random group of people. I genuinely believe a high percentage of SJWs have straight up mental illness and personality disorders that hinder their functionality in society, that make them so bizarre. And I don't want to even judge that stuff. I wish they'd get help. I wish they'd go to their psychiatrist. I wish they'd go to their counselors once a week if they need that help. So SJWs are collectivist, authoritarian Puritans with a high rate of mental illness. The ends for them always justify the means. They don't go by a code of ethics. And I want to add one more thing. They don't care anything about logical consistency. Again, they care nothing about logical consistency. Doesn't matter. You know, most of us, most normal people want to be consistent in their views. You know, if I support this, I should support this. And consistency seems to matter for normal people. I don't want to contradict myself on this view or that view. In other words, if I believe that murder is wrong, then I'm going to have to at least, like, it's like from a religious perspective, say I believe murder is wrong, then I'm going to have to at least come to some kind of peace with the idea of war, for instance, in which murder is, you know, the order of the day. I'm going to have to figure out a way to be consistent. SJWs care nothing about logical consistency. They'll rail all day long about one thing and contradict themselves in the very next breath, seemingly without a care. That's because, again, the ends always justify the means. Consistency doesn't matter. So, switching gears a touch, I wanted to talk about 3 kinds of SJWs that I've noticed. Of course, I'm always willing to have dialogues about such as this. I don't have it all figured out, but I've noticed. Number 1, I'm going to talk about the elite college-educated leftists. See, SJWism, it brewed up and cooked itself. It became a thing in the university. If you don't have much experience with the humanities university, it might be a little bit difficult to explain this, but actually, I'm just hit my wall in explanation. But I definitely went to college in the humanities. And so you end up reading Foucault and Derrida and all these people who talk about language games and how all language is power. And you read about oppression and you read about racism and you read about all these things and you come out, and I don't think it even comes necessarily from a bad place for most people in those programs. In other words, most people in those programs definitely look around the world and see, well, things are unequal, that the world is not fair. Some people have it worse than others. Some people are oppressed. And rather than work within a system or come out with a, how do I put this? Whereas if you're a thinking person, you can indulge in those critiques, but still come out understanding that you have to work within a system, that there's human nature involved here, that you can't destroy the whole damn thing. Also, too, that communism fails inevitably, that there's gulags and mass murder involved in history. In other words, you come at it with a sense of, with a degree of nuance. Now, what's happened, in my view, in the last 10 years or so, leading to the SJWs, is this PC language, this cultural Marxism that's been inculcated in people in the university has bled out into pop culture, has bled out into people who don't have the brains to deal with nuance. I'm going to say that again. I think that this cultural Marxism that has been taught in universities for at least the last 40 years the chickens have come home to roost, you see. It has bled out into the general population among non-educated people who don't have the cognitive capacity to deal with the nuance. So then it literally becomes, for these people, it is simply, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a homophobe. God, they don't know how to deal with the nuance. You can blame all of this if you want to. All of it started at the university among elite leftist thinkers. But I don't think they quite understood the beast that they were about to unleash on the general population. I don't think they understood what was going to happen when the chickens came home to roost. That's my opinion, but that's how I see things. That's the first group, though, the elite college-educated leftists. The second group are the NPCs. The NPCs are the group, they're the people who don't have the capacity for nuance. They can't think these concepts through. They can't pair them with freedom of speech, you see. They can't pair them with stabilized societies. They can't pair these concepts with the idea that capitalism actually works pretty well for the most part. It's not perfect, but it's working. They can't pair these things. These are the people who look at the world in terms of black and white, one or the other. Everything has to be oversimplified for these people, and they can only get on Twitter, on social media. All they can do is spout basics. That's why we call them NPCs, and that's why the NPC meme has been so amazing in the last 2 weeks that it's been available to us. They truly are NPCs in the sense that they can't process the nuance. They just spout the buzzwords. That's the end. That's the beginning and the end of these people. And then the third group are the true believers. They really believe this stuff. They really believe this stuff. They believe that the world is horrible, and if you're black, you're just screwed from the beginning. And if you're trans, you're screwed beyond belief. And I'm going to throw it out there that it's possible in my thinking that it is possible that there are true believers who have latched on to this politics because they really want to do some good. I don't see that very often. I think what we've got are elite, jaded, educated leftists who are using it as a power game and know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. I think the rest are pretty much NPCs. But there's got to probably be a percentage of people who actually believe in this stuff and think they're doing what's right. Put it that way. They think they're doing what's right. But what we've ended up with after all of this stuff in 2018 with the comic book industry as a perfect microcosm for what's happening is we are basically witnessing a leftist McCarthyism unfold right under our noses, right before our eyes. You can see it. It's pretty ugly stuff. Pretty ugly stuff. So, a leftist McCarthyism. Collectivist, authoritarian, puritanical, mentally ill McCarthyism. Probably egged on by the fact that that's another video. That's another video. I don't know. I'm trying to get better at the live streaming thing. To be in my shoes and to live my life is to be able to have all of these connections and understand and have this incredible broad understanding about the world we're living in. I'm the guy who always wants to understand how things work. And I do for the most part. And if I don't, I work at it, But no, I'm not always the best at expressing those connections to others, but I so want to. I thought a logical question would be, if you're a normie, how do you fight against social justice warriors? And I already said earlier in the video that it's really hard to, because for them the ends do justify the means. And if you're normal and you have ethics, you're never going to be willing to go as low as they're willing to go. You're at a disadvantage. But you have to consider this, and this is, I guess I'll end the video here, that you do have things that they don't have and can't have. You have a sense of humor. You can tell a bawdy joke and it's not the end of the fucking world, you see. You can tell a joke that, you get my point, right? You can tell a joke and you can laugh at yourself. Can you laugh at yourself? Do you take yourself way too seriously? If you can laugh at yourself and you don't take the world too seriously, you have that on them too. Make fun of them. Crack jokes. Be irreverent. Be bawdy. Reclaim that territory. And when they come for an apology, when the mob comes for an apology, you use this phrase, go fuck yourself. That's what you say. Never apologize to these fucks. You say, go fuck yourself. It's okay to be bawdy. You see, it's okay to be irreverent sometimes. It's okay to have the sense of humor. I actually think that's probably our strongest weapon, that we can have a sense of humor. We can dismiss things as not so serious. I would never engage with SJWs in a serious way, as in a logical, argumentative way like normal people might do. I would never do that. I would never do that, and I recommend against it. There's nothing to be gained there. Remember, they have no ethics. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll do anything to crush you. They don't follow logical patterns. It is only about the win. So don't even engage for the win. Engage to make fun of them and be goofy. That bugs them probably the most. More on this later. I had written a list of things that I wanted to say, and I've checked it off. So, thanks for listening. Going out.